America's dad, Bernard Sanders, didn't hold back his criticism of the DNC here when he was asked about it by Crystal Ball on Hill TV. So let's take a look.
No secret that you've been critical of the Democratic establishment.
Have I?
If you do become the nominee, do you believe that they'll support you?
Well, I don't want to speculate. I certainly understand that not everybody in the Democratic establishment, I think the third way folks referred to me as an existential threat to the Democratic Party. I think that was the term that they used. So,
are you?
in some ways I am. And that is that I want to transform the Democratic Party. We're sitting right now in Kentucky, right? This is a very poor state. This is a state which has a whole lot of folks who are working for low wages. You have a senator who wants to do away with the Affordable Care Act that would throw tens and tens of thousands of people in this state off the health care they have. They have an educational crisis. And yet you got two right-wing Republican senators. Most of the members in the House are Republican. Why is that? Why is that? And I think it's because the Democratic Party has lost the vision that it once had under FDR, even maybe under Harry Truman, about being the party of the working class of this country, being the party that says to the billionaire class, you know what? You can't have it all.
Love it. He was like, yeah, maybe I am an existential threat to the Democratic Party. Maybe I am. And I like at the beginning when she said, you're, it's no secret you've been critical of the Democratic establishment. He was like, have I? Get him, Father Bernie. Father sounds too religious. Get him, Dad Bernie. Daddy Bernie sounds a little too creepy. Yeah, I can't say that. That's a little too weird. America's Dad Bernie Sanders. There you go. We'll go back to the original. Listen, what he wants to do is make the Democratic Party democratic again. That's what he wants to do. So even though he is an existential threat to the Democratic establishment, the reality of the situation is the current Democratic establishment was an existential threat to a functioning and popular Democratic Party. You see what I'm saying? So Bernie's just saying, hey, let's go back to our roots. At least on economic issues. Hey, let's go back to advocating and fighting for social democracy. That's FDR-style politics. With the New Deal, for example. That's why Bernie comes along. He's a fighter for the Green New Deal. He's a fighter for a massive infrastructure project. He wants to do a living wage. He wants to do Medicare for all. He wants to do free college. He wants to eliminate student loan debt. He wants to tax Wall Street. All he's doing is taking that FDR legacy and running with it. That's it. This is not extreme. This is not radical. This is basically representing the will of the American people, because if you look at the polls, people agree with virtually his entire agenda. So even though he's an existential threat to the Democratic establishment, he's doing so by actually representing the popular will of the people, which is why he's so popular. And which is why people love him. So I feel like that's the most poignant argument that you can make, which gives people that light bulb moment. And you saw it a lot in that Joe Rogan podcast with Bernie Sanders, is when Bernie explains what he's actually about, everybody goes, oh my goodness, wait a second, I thought this guy was crazy. Mainstream media has been telling me that this guy's out of his mind. Everything he's fighting for is immensely popular. This all sounds like common sense. It all sounds immensely popular. Let's take on the greed of the pharmaceutical industry, for example, and giving specifics about how they're ripping us off, so on and so forth. He actually is the centrist. He actually is the moderate. He's in the center of mainstream American opinion. He's right smack dab in the middle of it. So that's the thing that people need to understand and wrap their minds around, is that in Washington, D.C., this guy who's viewed as insanely far left is actually representing the will of the American people. And all this talk about being an existential threat to the Democratic establishment, that's basically him saying, I'm not interested in, doing the bidding of the pharmaceutical companies and the for-profit health insurance companies and Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. I'm not interested in the corruption that has a stranglehold on both parties in Washington, D.C., I'm interested in fundamentally changing that system to make it work better and work for the people. So I absolutely love that. If you can hammer home that message that, hold on now, I'm the real moderate because I'm right in the middle of mainstream American opinion, I'm the real centrist, and all I'm trying to do is get us back to our FDR roots. How are you going to lose with that message? How are you going to lose with that message? Just so everybody knows, FDR kept getting elected. The right was like, oh my God, we need to come up with term limits because Democrats are never going to lose ever again because they're so popular because they're doing things that are good for the people. We need term limits. And somehow in mainstream media now, the idea is, oh, you can't go in the FDR direction. You can't go in the Bernie Sanders direction because that's not popular. You gotta, be a centrist and stuff, bro. Be a centrist and stuff. It's not like we have any recent history of, Hillary Clinton or something running as a centrist and losing, bro. Not like she lost, bro. Yeah, she did. So, a great answer from Bernie. And great question, too, from Crystal Ball there. And I want to see more of this. Let this man speak freely and lay out his vision, and people will be attracted to it like a bug attracted to a bug light.